Good morning, South Africa, and welcome to True State of the Nation, where we take an honest look at what is happening in the country. Last week, Harvard Professor Ricardo Hausmann published his research paper on BE and Cadre deployment. It's not surprising that Hausmann found that these policies are harming the country and leading to state collapse. The report states that, in our investigations into the drivers of state collapse in the electricity system and at municipal government level, we find that preferential procurement is a critical component of state collapse and thus deserves serious attention. What was surprising, however, was the reaction to this report on social media. As I read through replies on X, it became clear that many people see the findings in this report as nothing more than an attack on black people. It's unfortunate that they jumped to this conclusion, because the purpose of Hausmann's research was to understand why South Africa is failing to achieve its economic growth and inclusion goals. It should be evident to all South Africans that the ANC is not doing a good job. But whenever someone points out the fact that ANC policies are bad, they cry racism. Eskom, Transnet, the post office, and municipal governments are proof that South Africa is on the verge of state collapse. And if this happens, it will be disastrous for black South Africans. Staving off state failure is in the interest of every South African, while BE and Cadre deployment only benefit a small, select group. If people actually bothered to read the research, they would see that Hausmann explains how BE and Cadre deployment are harming the very people the ANC claim these policies help, namely black people. For example, the report points out that BE increases the cost of goods purchased by the government by at least 20%. This is not taking massive corruption into account, which often inflates the prices hundreds of times. But even at 20%, that means a fifth of the country's budget is being wasted and not adding any value to the people of South Africa. Let's imagine you go buy a loaf of bread. It costs 10 Rand at Shop A. But Shop A is owned by a white man. So you go to Shop B. But Shop B does not bake its own bread. It buys the bread from Shop A, adds 20% to the price, and sells it to you for 12 Rand. Shop B has not added any value to the bread. You are not getting 20% more bread for the 20% increase. This is exactly how BE works in government procurement. Let's imagine the government wants to buy a hospital bed for a rural community clinic. For argument's sake, that bed has a market value of 10,000 Rand, if purchased through the most competitive bidder. But the government insists on buying it from a BE company, which first buys it at market value and then sells it to the state for a 20% profit. But they have not added any value to the item. Now, instead of spending 10,000 Rand of our tax money on the bed, the state spends 12,000. But this extra 20% could have been used to purchase something else that the people of South Africa desperately need. But instead, it landed in the pocket of a politically connected individual. And everything the government buys works in this way. And it's not amounts of 10 Rand or even 10,000. It's millions and even billions. If Transnet wants to buy a train that costs 100 million Rand, that means someone can pocket 20 million Rand for doing nothing other than being black. And this situation is made much worse when the second policy of Cadre deployment is added to the mix. Instead of employment on merit, the ANC deploys people to state departments and state-owned enterprises. It doesn't matter if these people are capable of doing the job. It only matters if they are loyal to the ANC and will do as told. Now, once these people are in place, they can direct where the BE tenders go, often to themselves or their family members, with kickbacks to the ANC. And now, when the people giving the tenders are also the people getting the tenders, the prices are inflated by much more than 20%. The money that should be used to build the country and truly empower black people on a broad-based level is just stolen by a select group of tenderpreneurs. But this is not the only way that Cadre deployment harms the country. If you give an important job to someone who is not capable of doing it, that job will not get done, and things will start to go wrong. We have seen the results of this at SABC, SAA, Eskom, Transnet, Denel, the Post Office, and the list goes on and on. The fact of the matter is that the ANC is not interested in empowering anyone other than themselves. The only way for black people to become empowered is to stop believing the ANC's lies and start to ask the right questions. Instead of asking, is this a white party or a black party? Ask, is this a party with good policies or bad policies? Does this party have a good record or a bad record? Are they honest or corrupt? Can they stop the country from collapsing? Or are they the cause of the country collapsing? BE and Cadre deployment sound like things that benefit black people, like expropriation and nationalization. But the truth is, these policies are destructive, and until the nation realizes that the only way to empower everyone is to elect a government that will implement good policies, there will be no broad-based black economic empowerment. But let me know in the comments what you think, and please like and subscribe, and let's get South Africa talking.